Okay, so at first it seemed like Raw really made out well in the past 2 weeks with the Superstar Shakeup and the call-ups. But now that SmackDown is done, this is actually really hard. I almost think SmackDown got a much better lineup. So we'll begin. I will include the call-ups. So for tags on Raw, they picked up Breezango. Okay, comedy team. They can win the occasional match, and they'll get to lose to some of the other heel teams that build heat. The Ascension. I they've been doing the fashion files. I haven't seen them have a match on SmackDown or Raw, SmackDown in a really long time. So they get Breezango in the Ascension. So I guess two teams that will get the occasional loss, and then Authors of Pain. So I can see Authors of Pain probably tearing through the following three teams repeatedly. Slater, Rhino, Breezango, and the Ascension. So I don't think they did very well when it came to tags. Now we'll look at what SmackDown picked up. The Bar, Sanity, who would technically be a call-up, and the Good Brothers. So they picked up the club. That's actually a really good set of tag teams. Wouldn't mind seeing the Revival instead of the Bar, but I think that the Bar, New Day, we know the good matches. Bar Uso, same thing. Sanity, three-man group. I'm looking forward to them having some fantastic matches with the New Day. Probably some great promos, or even Sandy versus Bludgeon Brothers. That tag division now is fantastic. Yes, they did lose Chad Gable, so they lost American Beta, but actually, you know what? With Usos, New Day, Bludgeon Brothers, the Good Brothers, Sanity, and the Bar. I might have lost some other tag teams, but that's really solid. Oh, and Rusev Day. That's an incredibly solid tag division. Look at the women. Raw picked up Ruby Riott. Maybe they'll add more T's to her name. Liv Morgan, Sarah Logan, and Natalya. Okay. That's solid. Yeah, I think Natalya working with Ronda Rousey is going to work. It's going to help Ronda become smoother in the ring. And having Ruby Riott, Liv Morgan, and Sarah Logan, woman stable, okay. And SmackDown got Sonya Deville, Mandy Rose. Okay, that balances out some of the members of they picked up from the Riot Squad. Balances out well enough. Asuka. Okay, now we're unbalanced. But also recently got the Iconics. Billie Kay, Peyton Royce. So they picked up 5 women. Technically lost 4, so they actually got a net gain of 1 woman. If you look at what they did for the tags, technically SmackDown got a net gain of 1 person. I think they made out pretty well with the women too. I think Mandy Rose, she needs some additional guidance, and I think having them back on the road with Paige will probably help them guide some things through. It will be unique seeing how, because now your heels end up being Sonya, Mandy, Peyton, Billie, Carmella. That's not a bad group of heels. Opposite, Becky, Charlotte, Asuka, Naomi. Probably forgetting somebody. Like I said, you have Lana, but I don't know where she really fits in with all this. But that's a pretty solid women's division. And if let Selena Vega wrestle, that's an even better women's division. You have Selena Vega as well as Lana if they ever let her wrestle again. That's really solid for the women's division. Now look at single stars. No Way Jose. Feels kind of a comedy role. Mike Kanellis. There's the potential. I don't know if he'll realize it on Raw, but this is probably his last gasp. Mojo Rawley turned it up a lot in his feud with Zack Ryder. Drew McIntyre, Dolph Ziggler, Baron Corbin, Jinder Mahal, Chad Gable, Bobby Roode, Lashley, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn. I might have, I didn't count Kim, but that is a seismic shift when it comes to who you've got. You now have your mid-card people in Jinder, Chad, and Bobby Roode, as well as Baron Corbin. You got the people in Mojo Rawley, and Zack Ryder. It's people who can kind of float in between mid-card and main event with Sammy, Kevin, Lashley, technically Ziggler. I also can see McIntyre, maybe Corbin a little bit. Like that's a really good mix when it comes to for the men. And then on SmackDown side, R-Truth. Okay. He's good. He's good for the house shows. Good for the shows, the matches before. A lot of experience. Good for the backstage segments. Also good if you need to have a heel get a nice victory here and there. The Miz and Daniel Bryan is money. Period. If Maurice can get in a ring shape, I entirely expect to see a match where it's Maurice and The Miz with probably, like Monroe Sky and like a bassinet watching from across the other side of the ring where you've got Daniel Bryan, Brie, and Birdie Joe. I mean, I can see them getting their families involved, whether it's Babe Monitors on a pole match or whatever. I can see them having some sort of interaction between those two groups. So we're never going to see Nikki and John in a tag match again. I think that would work really interesting. And Jeff Hardy became a U.S. champ, Grand Slam champion. Makes sense. Mid-card title comes back. Jeff Hardy, AJ Styles. Let that sink in. Jeff Hardy, Randy Orton. I mean, there's a lot of good matchups for Jeff Hardy that we haven't seen. So that's good. Then you have someone again he can do the mid-card title and he can kind of float up and down to maybe be in a main event here, but really good spot for him. Same with the Miz. Miz can do the float as well. Samoa Joe. It's Joe Daniels. Joe Styles. Joe Orton. Joe Nakamura. Joe has picked up a tremendous amount of people he can have easily 5-star matches. If it's in Japan, 6 stars easily. He can have some fantastic matches there. Big Cass. Big Cass, if done right, can fill the Baron Corbin we need a big man spot. And again, I'm really interested to see what they do with him. Andrade Cien Almas with Selena Vega really also hits a fantastic spot where he can be mid-card and he can be upper-card. First I think it'd be great if they picked up Braun Strowman for SmackDown, but you know what? Doing a bunch of smaller, faster, athletic guys, that's pretty good. And Big Cass makes sense because, his girlfriend's there. That is going to take SmackDown almost back to like the Promised Land era of SmackDown. We had the SmackDown 6 and you had all these fast guys putting these high-profile matches, intense, hard-hitting, great mat work, a fantastic amount of tag teams, and a really solid women's division. They really did. You guys are rebuilding both shows. I think SmackDown came out ahead a little bit. Definitely when it comes to what they got for tag teams and when they came from the women's wrestlers. For the men, it's hard to beat Miz, Joe, and Hardy. I mean, they came really close when it came to getting Kevin, Sammy, Dolph, and Drew. And Bobby Roode. I mean, I'm looking forward to see what Raw can do with their 3 hours to get everyone incorporated now that 205 Live is just effectively taking place after SmackDown instead of them trying to work in cruiserweight matches into Raw. And it cuts on the travel time. I'm interested to see exactly what it is they can do with that. Because now 205 Live is its own entity. Sink or swim time. SmackDown Live. Nice and rejuvenated. And Raw picked up a tremendous amount of talent. Now it's just, how do you utilize it?